Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my craft room. I've finally uploaded my Christmas for the 25th, even though by the time I post this, it's going to be the 28th. But I wanted to show another Christmas video. I think this will be my last one for the month. And I'm pulling out some of my favorite scrapbook.com products, like my Slimline paper pad. I have jewels and mixed metals, and I'm going to be using my winter floral slimline die here on that dark blue jewel tone cardstock and create a really pretty background for my slimline card. So in order to line these up nicely, because the slimline paper is already cut down to a slimline size, I'm going to grab my mint tape to help me line up all four of my edges as centered as I possibly can onto my die. Since the edges will not be die cut, it will just die cut my design. And then I'm also going to grab a couple of these green colors. I'm going to go with the darker and lighter green from the Jewel Slimline paper pad, and I'm grabbing a sprig die, and I'm going to die cut a bunch of sprigs out of these two green pieces of smooth cardstock, because I'm going to kind of fashion my own wreath onto a card. So I'm going to die cut that multiple times. And then finally, the FaLaLa die. I'm going to die cut it 3 times out of this really beautiful teal color. It matches my desk, as you can see. Probably my favorite in the pack. And then I also will die cut it out of the same kind of pewter mixed metal paper that I showed earlier, but I'm going to do that later because I realize I want that kind of off-centered effect for more shine on my card. And then I also needed a piece of cardstock to kind of frame my wreath and sentiment, and I die cut red here, but I end up not liking it, and I'm going to die cut it again out of white. What I did was I just used one of my slimline nested dies just to help me get a really nice pretty kind of rectangle onto my card. So first I'm creating my background, and I used a wet glue with a precision tip to add lots of glue behind my blue cardstock here that was die cut with my winter floral slimline. I probably should have just put some adhesive behind my cardstock and then die cut it so it already had adhesive on it. But you know what? After the fact, of course, right? Hindsight's always 20/20. Next, I'm going to glue my 3 layers of FaLaLa in that really pretty teal color together. And I am, as you can see here, trying to figure out how I'm going to layer all the colors. But like I said, I ended up not really liking the red, and I'm going to use white instead. So in order to add a little bit of dimension on my card, I'm going to grab my 2-inch wide foam adhesive. And I'm going to pop up that white cardstock, and then I will figure out my wreath and layer on my sentiment. Here I'm adding that kind of pewter metallic FaLaLa die cut behind my teal blue. As I said earlier, as I was layering it, I knew I wanted just a little bit more sparkle to really pop up with my sentiment. So I glued it off-centered just a little, kind of like to the bottom right, and that way it adds kind of a shadow effect onto my sentiment and will just, again, bring some more shine to the card. So I'm going to layer on my white rectangle towards the top of my slimline, and now I'm going to build up my wreath. So I went ahead and skipped forward. Here you can see I'm kind of playing with my layers and colors and how I'm going to do this, but I am going to show you my complete wreath assembly. So I do all my videos sped up 2 times, so it looks like I'm going pretty quick here, but what I'm going to do is trim off my stem of my sprig, so that way I can create a wreath without these large sticks kind of pointing out. So I'm going to start with my lighter green, and I'm going to use that fine tip glue again to just add glue behind my sprig. I didn't cover it completely because I wanted some of my leaves to pop up to have dimension. I didn't want the whole thing stuck down. And then I did the same thing with a darker green, and I use my tweezers here and there to help me with placing these down so I don't get glue all over my fingers. And then I'm going to do one more in that lighter green. So the bottom of my wreath is actually a little more fuller than the top, but as you can see, it goes up higher than halfway up my white cardstock. So my wreath's more of like a oval egg kind of shape. So once I have the bottom of my wreath done, I'm going to look at my FaLaLa, and I'm pretty happy with how it looks. So let's work on adding more to the top. So I'm going to do one full dark green sprig on the top left using my fine tip glue to add glue to the back. And I'm going to try and tuck that edge of my sprig behind another one. Again, trying not to show any major edges. I want it to look like a wreath with, no end to it. And then I'm going to start trimming my sprigs a little smaller now. So just trying to fill in the top, center, and right. And I don't want it to be overly crowded, so you can still tell that they are individual dies and individual leaves. So I will start trimming these down to fit nicely onto my wreath. And I'm going to keep going back and forth between my last couple colors and pieces, just a couple more to go. So it did take me a long time to get this video edited. I actually filmed this on the 25th and just didn't have the energy to edit and get it loaded and scheduled in time for the 25th. Like I said, I just got back from Iowa not too long ago and just trying to get back into routine with work, with home life, and then of course crafting. So I feel like I'm playing a little bit of catch up here, but I am going to be finally finishing up my, obviously, this Christmas video, and then I have a Halloween video for this weekend. And I'm also going to be participating in a hop, so check out my YouTube channel this weekend. I'm going to have 2 videos, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. And okay, so now I'm finishing up my wreath here. I'm going to also glue down my FaLaLa with my wet adhesive. I thought about trying to pop it up more, but I already had plenty of dimension with my FaLaLa die cut 4 times, 3 out of that teal and 1 out of glitter cardstock. So I figured that was plenty of dimension and it fit nicely inside the center of my oval egg wreath here. So I'm just going to add that wet glue and I will glue that down to my card. Now, of course, we need to add just a little bit more, so I'm going to grab my pops of color in copper. Now, the copper doesn't match exactly, like I said, this background metallic paper I've been using is more of a pewter color, and copper has a little bit more of that orangey tone to it, but I thought it was close enough and it looked really pretty together, so I stuck with it and I added some little dots onto my card, my little pops of color, and I tapped the back to smooth them out so they didn't really look like a Hershey Kiss. They look more like an enamel dot. Here is a final look at how this slimline FaLaLa Christmas card turned out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!